I usually start off with a slide that says, who the hell am I and why am I here? For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Brandy. Vaughan. Oh, hi, you're the late comer. Take a packet. My story started in 2001 when I was hired at Merck, and I worked for them for 2 years. I went through their 2-month training program, which they do with all reps, and we get entirely brainwashed. We have ex-CIA people come in and tell us how to talk to people and what to tell them and all of this stuff, and a lot of that I'm going to tell you today, so that we can further our movement using tactics that clearly work, unfortunately. So I worked for Merck. I sold, on one hand, I sold a drug that didn't work, Singular, and then I sold a drug that killed people, Vioxx, which was pulled from the market 5 years after it was on the market. If any of you know a little bit about Vioxx, it was a pain reliever. It killed anywhere from 50,000 people to 500,000. The estimates depends on who you listen to, the FDA or other people who have done census death record evaluations. It was a very dangerous drug. When Merck went through the lawsuits, they paid $6 billion in fines. It's one of the largest corporate payouts ever. And they still made $4 billion off of it while it was on the market. It came out that they knew that it was killing people. We were touting a drug study that wasn't done yet to doctors. It was stopped without any work. Shady stuff going down. So I learned a lot from that experience. I quit even before Vioxx was pulled off the market because I not only saw what was going on with that, but I saw how corrupt the whole medical system is in terms, I launched a cardiology drug. I won sales awards for selling Vioxx, and so in my territory, which was Santa Barbara, Ventura, I was chosen to, myself and one other girl who's still a very, very good friend of mine, we launched a Zetia, which was a cardiology drug. So even though I was not on Vioxx towards the end of my career with Merck, I saw how influenced doctors are and just the whole healthcare system is by pharma. And I quit. I went to Europe, 8 years there. Flash forward. I had my son over in Holland. I learned a lot about homeopathy, about natural health. Holland is an amazing place, very special population, but they are very stubborn against medical stuff. Like, they don't like medicine and doctors. Pharma is not as entrenched, nearly as entrenched in the EU, particularly in countries like Holland, as they are here. So I had a home birth over there, natural. I went in with allergies, looking for a prescription for Allegra, into a really well-known expat doctor over there, and he's like, allergies to what? To like oil? And yeah, like what kind of allergies are you talking about? This is how different countries are that don't rely on medicine and vaccines and so heavily on that. And so, had my son over there, had midwife appointments, totally unvaccinated, totally healthy, so I didn't know a lot about vaccines back then, but when I came back to San Francisco with him, vax-free, I went to a pediatrician. I was living in San Francisco at the time, and the guy was like, oh, he's about 20 vaccines behind, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, he's perfectly healthy, and he said, well, but this is the schedule, and I'm like, I'd like to see some inserts. I hadn't done a lot of vaccine research because it just wasn't part of the conversation. I was in Europe for 8 years. It just wasn't part of the conversation there. And he said, but I'm the doctor, you can trust me. And I'm like, well, I know I can't trust you because I used to be a pharma rep. I'd like to see the vaccine, and I'd like to see the inserts myself. And he stormed out of the room. At least he left me alone at that point, but that was a huge red flag to me, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I already knew not to trust doctors and pharma and all of that. I already knew that pediatricians, 75% of their money they make is vaccine visits and stuff, well visits, vaccine visits, same thing. So I started my research then. My son is 5 years old now, doesn't have any vaccines. perfectly healthy. He's far, far healthier than a lot of his peers, unfortunately, and those are the people I'm fighting for, not only my son. I started speaking out about vaccines last year in March when SB 277 came on the horizon. We probably all know about that at this point. I cried for a month before because I knew I was about to speak out against a very powerful industry that is going to be very pissed off at me. Because not only am I speaking out against them, but I'm a former employee. And if you haven't noticed, not a lot of former employees of pharma speak out against them. It is not fun. They don't make your life easy. And I knew my life as I knew it was over. But when you have a calling in life, you know, I can't imagine doing anything else. Started speaking out, and I launched a nonprofit because, well, when I was in Europe, I had my own business doing marketing and strategy and communications for Fortune 500 companies like Philips. I was managing editor of a Philips research magazine, ABN AMRO, ING, UPC, which is the largest cable company over there. I also worked as a consultant for the UN Environment Program and Friends of the Earth. Europe. That's where I learned a lot about other things like GMOs and agricultural farming and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So what I decided to do was start a nonprofit to basically bring all that experience and what I've been doing to our movement, because we are getting steamrolled right now. So I spoke out a lot in interviews and rallies and organized rallies. That's where I met Tina, was organizing the Golden Gate Bridge rally last July 3rd. We had about 500 people there. We had 12 media outlets there. We had dozens of articles, one written in Chinese, one written in Spanish. I mean, all over the papers about it. And the security guard said it was the biggest rally he'd seen on the Golden Gate Bridge, and he was amazed. So that's where I met Tina, and we started really talking about things, and I launched the nonprofit. I did some InfoWars interviews in studio, and I got a lot of donations because I told people I'm launching a public education campaign. We have to get this information out there. That's where LearnTheRisk comes in. I was lucky enough to raise enough from those interviews to do the first round of billboards in the city. And that was back in November, and it's kind of gone up from there. In fact, last week we had a billboard on the Bay Bridge. Yeah. Almost 1 million views before they censored it. That's another story. Oh yeah, we're clearly pissing off some people in high places. That's a whole other story. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing, and who I am and why I'm doing this. I want to so LearnTheRisk is not just about the billboards. You know, pharma spends a ton of money, way more money marketing their products than they do in research, because it's very powerful. So that's why doing the advertising and the marketing campaign in a professional way, giving people a website where they can go, newbies, to the conversation, to plant those seeds is really, really important. In fact, the LearnTheRisk website is getting tens of thousands of hits per week. Last time I checked, it was 70% new visits. So this is how we keep the conversation going. This is how we grow our movement. And that's why pharma does so much advertising. So it's my vision is that kind of campaigning and strategy and messaging, and then we need grassroots. We have to get out there face to face. People listen to people they know. They listen to people they see. So while we're starting the conversation and keeping it going with the advertising, we're planting the seeds on a massive scale. Then we need to put our faces in front of people. And that's where the grassroots efforts come in. I really feel like for a reason, we're the ones strong enough to get out there. And even if it's controversial I'm going to talk about coming out of the closet in a minute, but even if we're not quite there yet, we were given this role for a reason and this connection, and we are the ones who are here to educate everyone else who is still, you know, trusting their doctor maybe a little bit too much, or hasn't done the research, doesn't know that they need to do the research. We're here to connect the dots for people, and that's, you've been given that role whether you like it or not. I'm still resisting it sometimes, you know, like, but I was given this role, and I do feel grateful because it's a very important role. But the grassroots is really what this campaign is about, and that's why we're here. We need massive education of the public, and there are a lot of ways to get involved and help. I want to step back and talk about the messaging of LearnTheRisk and why it is what it is. And maybe my computer will turn on sometime tonight so I can follow my PowerPoint because it keeps me on track. I think it's back. By the way, I've been through 3 computers this year, 4 phones. Wells Fargo called me, the fraud department, 3 months ago and said, you need to take, we've suspended all your accounts online. We've never seen the kind of hacking attempts you've been getting into. I had to close all my credit cards because they keep giving the number to Nigeria. Yeah, it's not fun. Anyway, and we won't even talk about the other stuff. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my slideshow. So the messaging, one thing I realized in this year that I've been doing this is that there are a lot of different messaging and a lot of different groups and a lot of different kind of ideas. And I want to talk about why we have to talk about risk. Because what we're seeing, what I'm seeing, is a lot of people, oh, we have to talk about choice. You know, people can't handle the full truth, you know, we just got to keep it to choice. Parents' choice, you don't want the government involved, right? Come on. I saw a lot of telling lawmakers, we don't need another law. How do they make their money? They don't get elected to legislation to sit around and not make laws, okay? We're telling lawmakers who make their money off that not to make a new law. We're telling them that it's unconstitutional. Well, guess what? That just makes them want to vote for it because they already sold their vote. And then if it's unconstitutional, it'll go to the courts and then it'll get thrown out anyway, so they feel less guilty. So we're telling them a lot of different things. And I'm sitting there at these hearings last spring thinking, what is going on here? Because this is completely ineffective messaging. And every time I tried to, and other people tried to say, hey, you know, we gotta revamp what's going on here. And we certainly don't want to, the first thing out of our mouth should not be that we're pro-vax and everyone we know is vaccinated, and all my kids are vaccinated, and all my friends. Anyway, I saw things were going completely wrong. Completely ineffective as well. Nobody cares about their choice if they don't think there's a risk. Nobody cares about their rights if they don't think there's a risk. So, seatbelts, right? We all wear them now. When those came into law, motorcycle helmets, nobody protested in the streets because there's no perceived risk. That's what's going to happen here because pharma is being very aggressive about trying to tell people their schedule. So they're already planting risk in their mind of the other way, and yet we're just like, rights, and they're like, fear. It's never gonna work, right? So we have to up our game. We have to talk about the risk. There is a risk. There is a clear risk. There is clear damage going on in our society. People haven't connected the dots, but it's there. So the messaging, we have to talk about risk. We don't have time to talk about rights anymore. We don't have time to talk about, you know, oh, don't make another law, the other one's working. Oh, the one that you said shouldn't be done 2 years ago, you know. We don't have time to talk about how we're pro-vax, you know, vaccines are okay, but we just don't need a law. No, it's past that because we're gonna continue to see our rights stripped. We have to raise our game, we have to raise the messaging, we have to talk about risk, and we have to get people to connect the dots. 45% of children now have a chronic issue. asthma, ADHD, food allergies, autoimmune issues, lupus. They now have childhood lupus, which is, yes, and childhood arthritis. Never been seen before. Leukemia is on the rise, even though all other cancers are stabilizing. Central nervous system, I can show you studies on all of this. Central nervous system and brain tumors are rising in children, skyrocketing. Okay, type 1 diabetes, autism, neurological developmental delays. I talked to a speech therapist who said she has a group of colleagues that get together, and they say they have never seen something like this. It is like their profession is taking off. I mean, the damage is there. We just have to tell people, we have to connect the dots for them, because they're listening to their doctor. We were all trained, hey, listen to your doctor. I was too. For Merck, I had to Hep B and Hep A series, and I was getting colonoscopies, and I had never had any, real issues with that before. So, and that was when I was 22, and I still didn't connect the dots, we don't, and we have to, we know this for a reason. One of my favorite slides in my presentations that I give when I have a screen projector, it's an Albert Einstein quote that says, when you have the privilege to know, you have a duty to act. So we have to get activated. One of the things that I was telling people at the booth that I had in LA at the Conscious Life Expo recently, people are like, oh yeah, we totally agree. Yeah, we're right there, vaccines, boom. And I'm like, okay, it's not enough to agree anymore. We have to activate, because I just saw a survey of 4.5 million people across the US, 70% supported a federal mandate, and that's what we're looking at. So pharma really wants you to spend a lot of time with state legislators, because they're already shopping a federal mandate, which would make all of that time at the state level completely moot. So if we don't change that tide of public opinion, and that can be done with, and not just legislators. I mean, it's not just legislators, they come and go, they're bought, they've traded their votes for their passion, they want to save the salmon and, American River. They've already bought their votes and traded them. We have to get the information out to the public. And when we're doing that, who's included in the public? It is judges, which could be very important. It is their staff, who they listen to more than anyone off the street. It is doctors. We do need more doctors on board to connect the dots. And a lot are afraid to come out. They connect the dots. We need to make the conversation less taboo. We need to make the word vaccine. I want to scream it from rooftops. I do, basically, because we need to take away the taboo. We need to take away the stigma. We need to take away the stigma of the word anti-vaxxer. Anti-chemicals in our rivers, and anti-chemicals in food we eat. We need to take away that stigma so that this can be part of the conversation, because all of these diseases we're seeing are linked to environmental toxins, and people talk all the time about food and water and air, and what we put in our muscles, with vaccines, that is 100% absorbed. It doesn't go through our natural body filters, so it is even more potent. And the fact that it's not part of the conversation, that's our job. We have to make it a part of the conversation. We have to connect the dots for people. So, one thing I wanted to touch on about, where we're at with our movement. So I worked a lot on Prop 37 in San Francisco, and yay, in San Francisco we had 67% vote yes on Prop 37. Pam Larry came out, and I was even at the, hey, well, the watch party, well, we didn't win, all of that. I was at the ferry building, like pounding the pavement, handing flyers out, talking to people, getting the conversation going. 10 years ago, GMOs weren't part of the conversation. They're like, oh no, we need those to feed the people in Africa. We don't have enough food, we have to have GMOs, And if you fast forward 10 years to where we are now, it's a part of the conversation. You're no longer called crazy for talking about GMOs. People are interested. Monsanto stopped tight. They cut 16% of their workforce last year. They are struggling. They have marches against Monsanto. We need to march against Merck, because Merck is the driving force behind the mandatory vaccine bills, by the way. And I'll tell you why. They have a near monopoly on the vaccine schedule, and they have HPV, which is the have to pay for Vioxx vaccine. It's a blockbuster. The market is far larger than Vioxx. We are where they were 10 years ago, and we just have to keep going. grassroots efforts and getting people to come out of the closet about it and talk about it and making it. They did that with GMOs. They made it less taboo. So that's where we need to be, but we need that grassroots activity. I know it's harder because it's even more of a stigmatized, and pharma wants to keep it that way. And it's even more controversial and taboo. But the more people we have talking about it, the more seeds we plant, the more billboards they see, the more newspaper ads they see, the more friends that come and talk about it and share their injury, the injury stories, the more they see, Facebook posts, pages boosted, or someone shares something, maybe like a meme from LearnTheRisk in a GMO group, or a fracking group, or a against Flint water thing, like the more we get this information out in front of them, the less taboo it's going to be, and the more people that are going to start connecting the dots and thinking about it. And we have to. For those of you who want to speak about this, right? School board meetings, PTA meetings, they have to give you time. And even if they give you dirty looks or they sit there like this all the time, hey, you know what? You're getting that information out there. There's a reason pharma has pharma reps, right? Because you get that information repeatedly. You say the same points. You go in there once a week. They see you all the time. They start to speak it in their head. Like they dream about what you saying, those taglines, those sound bites. We need to do that with school boards, board of supervisors. You have 3 minutes in every board of supervisors meeting. Public can sign up for 3 minutes of their time. It's recorded too on your local legislative channel. They can't stop you. You get 3 minutes. 3 minutes to say whatever you want. It's such a great opportunity. School boards as well, they're supposed to give you 3 minutes. Political meetings. Santa Clara County Republican meeting. Go to one and say, hey, have you guys heard about, the LearnTheRisk campaign? There are mandatory vaccinations coming down the line. Can I have 3 minutes to speak about it? Can I have 5 minutes to speak about it? You don't have to, just getting that information out there. Even if you leave with nobody's email, with, whatever, that is a seed that is planted. It's like no effort is wasted. Absolutely none. ETA meetings, special interest groups, any kind of natural-minded groups, like Mama Toto, attachment parenting groups, naturopath associations, chiro meetings, any kind of natural-minded groups. Just ask for 5 minutes to speak about it. And sometimes they're making an event in the area, and you could use that as, hey, we're having an event, like at the pool. Anytime you can just make it conversation. Do a YouTube video, send it out. Share your story. Baby fairs, farmers markets, parent groups. Talk to the midwives. Talk to chiropractors, all in your area. One of the things that I want, or I'm hoping to get with the local groups, is to fundraise for advertising in your local area. So we have these packets and we have a lot of materials, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. One of the other things is I'm hoping to get funds so that I can fund booths at different baby fairs or events, a natural-minded event, like I did the booth at, well, I got it free because I spoke on the vaccine panel, but the Conscious Life Expo. I have a booth coming up at the end of April in San Mateo at the New Living Expo, also given to us. So there are opportunities to get out there, and I think in local areas as well, like farmers markets. I want to be able to sponsor booths. If someone wants to go and get volunteers once a month or at every farmer's market and hand out materials, because we already have a crowd that clearly, likes local produce or likes organic produce. Hey, you buy organic? Did you know there's GMOs in vaccines? Here you go. That's all you have to say. Hand out a flyer. Hand out a flyer. And they'll probably be like, whoa, hey, people need to know this, our job. We don't have to have long conversations, just getting the information in front of them. Toastmasters is a great way. They have to listen to you. It's part of the program. And there are a lot of Toastmasters. There's probably like 20 of them in the South Bay. Go to Toastmasters, go to everyone and keep talking about it. Talking about mandatory vaccination. And if we don't have a vaccination program that's coming on too. In terms of the local, in terms of the marketing in the campaign, it's not just billboards. It's kind of specific to the local area, whatever works. Billboards, newspaper ads, bus stop boards. We've done some of those in LA. TV, PSAs, radio spots. Once the funding comes in, I'm hoping to do all of that. And it's kind of like a tailored to the area kind of program. So with the South Bay, you guys have actually been quite lucky because we had the Super Bowl. So there were 4 boards in San Jose, and Peninsula's had boards for 3 months. So you guys have been kind of gotten most of the boards so far, but there's still so much more to do. And one of the things that I think, so in terms of the fundraising, what we're kind of looking at is getting all the chiropractic offices, all the naturopathic, homeopathic, reaching out to them and saying, can you do a monthly donation to keep advertising, to keep billboards up, to keep, 1 month it could be billboards, 1 month newspaper ads, 1 month PSAs, radio spots, that kind of stuff. Just keeping the conversation going. And if we had maybe even 75% of the chiropractic offices donating $100 a month, which is like the cost of 1 adjustment, and maybe some monthly donations from the natural food stores, from I don't know, homeopathic offices, this kind of thing. Even just, $25 a month, $50 a month to get the regular monthly dose. Some really active people locally, because I can't run the local campaigns. Like, I just can't do that. I've created the platform and I need people to run with it, because I need to be doing a lot of the speaking and a lot of the crossing over. My main goal is to get this information in front of people that aren't, we have a lot of groups already singing to the choir in our movement. My goal is to sing to everybody else who needs to know what's going on. And I have a lot of things going on and doing that kind of stuff. I don't have the energy or the time to do all of the local grassroots stuff too. Some interesting dates coming up. I feel like I might forget some. Anyone in Orange County was coming, not this weekend, but the weekend after, we're going to be at Cal Jam handing out flyers. April 6th, I'm speaking at the Capitol in Sacramento. It's a People for Change, so it is a very great group. It is all people from the GMO community, anti-GMO community, fracking, environmental. A lot of environmental groups are going to be there. We have the opportunity to have a table, and I'm going to be speaking on the vaccine issue. It's at the Capitol. We'll go in and lobby and drop off information after the rally. The rally's from 10 to 2. And so April 6th, if anyone can go up to Sacramento, I will need a lot of help manning the booth. I mean, there are thousands of people that that maybe haven't connected the dots yet, that need kind of this information. That's one of them, April 6th. If anyone knows anyone up in Bend, Oregon, I'm speaking there on April 7th. There's a possibility on April 2nd. There is, New Living Expo. We have a booth, San Mateo. Need volunteers to help man that.
When is that?
New Living Expo.
New Living Expo. When is that?
The last weekend in April. And then there will be an event that I'm going to do, speaking event in San Mateo Peninsula area 2 weeks after that. So I will need help with that, trying to get people going. There are a lot of people in Silicon Valley who know what's going on, and now we need them to help fund the campaign to kind of stop our rights being taken away. So 2 weeks later in May, there will be an event in San Mateo. I'm speaking at Autism One in Chicago, if anyone wants to go to that, at the end of May, and we'll have a booth there.
how do you stay connected with like everybody that was involved with the like in the dates? Like, do you have a Facebook page that you're posting on?
There's a Facebook page. I actually forgot to mention about that. Hold on, let me finish the dates. The first weekend in August, I'm going to be speaking up here in Burlingame, and we have a booth at the Wave Convention. And Suzanne Humphreys is going to speak on Friday night. I'm speaking on Saturday day, so that will be a great event. And I need people to help man the booth for that as well. It's the Hyatt up there, or the Hyatt. And then there will be some other stuff going on in the fall as well. So there are a lot of, April 22nd, I'm looking to do a rally in conjunction with the CDC rally. I'm thinking San Francisco City Hall. We did it on the so maybe, but I've seen a lot with Prop 37. There was some stuff going on at the San Francisco City Hall, and it's barterable. So I think that I would love help with the logistics of setting that up. That would be like April 22nd. So these are there's a lot of opportunities to get involved with these like, local-ish events as well. Yes. So with Learn the Risk. I forgot to mention.
Well, only just with all the dates you just said, so that we can visit a site that has those dates set up. Or like when
I have a calendar on the website, and to be honest, I am so overwhelmed. Like I cannot keep up with the social media stuff. I mean, I need someone to help with that. I need people to help with that. Like I'm not posting about these events because I just literally don't have the time. I feel like I'm on the phone and with emails with people that want to connect that are very, great opportunities. But I can't, like I haven't been on Facebook in 4 days. Like I didn't promote this event at all because I just, like I can't. I mean, next week alone, I'm having dinner in San Francisco on Tuesday night with Dr. Tim Pinney, and then 7:30 a.m. the next morning, I have a very important meeting in Aurora Grande, and then I have a thing in Santa Cruz that night, and then the next day I have to leave for Orange County for Cal Jam. Like this is what my schedule looks like. So I do have a calendar on Learn the Risk, and some of these events are on there. I'm doing my best to keep updated. I'm not in front of my computer very much, which is because of all of this. But this is why we need a lot of help. Learn the Risk does have a Facebook page with 6,500 likes. We have a newsletter that's going out too. That's a good way to stay updated. Website gets tens of thousands of views a week, and so does the Facebook page. We need help on there too, because the trolls sometimes come on there and we don't, I'm only on there like literally every 3 days. Sometimes they post funny like memes of me, and it stays on the page for like 3 days at a time. And people are like, Brandy, why are you not taking that down? I'm like,
I'm doing Facebook. I'm all good.
I'm trying.
It's usually come.
And if you still learn the rest of it, sometimes it hurts. We need help answering questions. There's a lot of people that are silent on there, but they're looking. We get like sometimes 100,000 views on that page a week, and they're reading people's questions and comments, and we need more info on there. We need people to post more graphs and post more studies like in response on the threads and stuff, because there are a lot of people that are genuinely new to the conversation who are like, but what about polio? And hey, we don't need to get upset that people ask that, because a lot of people are still they're like literally believe that polio, we don't have polio because of the vaccine here. So we just need to enlighten them. Like there's a lot of educational opportunities to going on there. We have a Learn the Risk closed Facebook group, and I'm trying to, I'm being very picky about who comes in. So, but everyone here, go try to join it, because that is where right now we're going to be able to congregate. Some of the other groups, we have the local, and then now I started a local South Bay Learn the Risk group. And this would be where like a lot of the connections and the grassroots, hey, there's an event coming up in Santa Cruz on March 16th, which there is. This guy, whenever someone's coming to speak, come with flyers. Ask if you can put them on the chairs, or don't ask and just ask, for forgiveness after the fact. I swear that's how a lot of shit gets done. So, just there are, connecting at the grassroots. So the Learn the Risk Facebook group for the South Bay, to kind of keep all of this and to get volunteers for farmers markets. Say, hey, I have 2 hours on Thursday. Does anyone want to, go to the farmers market and hand out flyers with me? Farmers markets, by the way, are great. I have talked with a lot of organic farm booths at the farmers markets, not in this area, but in Santa Barbara, and they love the flyers. They put the flyers, if there's an event coming up, they'll put the flyers on their, next to their cash register, or, maybe the doses or ingredients, flyers. They will put them there on their booths. So take a stack, go to all of the organic farm booths and be like, do you know there are GMOs and vaccines too? Do you mind if we put some, can I put some flyers here, And sometimes they will hand them out themselves. Like, it's such a good, there's just so many ways and avenues. Chiropractors should have these flyers in their offices, in all of them, same with naturopaths, homeopathy, all of that. So that's the way to stay connected with the Facebook groups for now, all of that. So I think I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna just say, we really, really have to activate, because things are really coming down the line, and if we don't change the public tide of opinion, and public being parents, being judges, being school staff, being, all kinds of people, we're just going to continue to get steamrolled. So we need a massive grassroots movement, and wise, effort-wise, will really help. And anyway, any questions? It can be.
One thing I think that would be nice is some home parties, right? Where you invite like minds, that you get a little bit more strength in numbers, and then you reach out to your network of friends that are a little bit on the fence or don't know anything about it, right? And just make it a house party.
Right. So I think really cool is to do like movie nights. The movies that I really like to show are Greater Good.
Yeah.
Bought is good as well. Particularly, if it's a GMO-minded, anti-GMO-minded crowd, and connects the dots. The Greater Good, the silent epidemic. So maybe that would be kind of cool, like, hey, I'm gonna buy everyone pizza. It's a great way to get together. We'll talk for half an hour, and then we're gonna watch this great movie. But yes, home parties. That's a great idea. I mean, there's just so many things. But also film screenings. Maybe, so one of the things that I'm hoping local people will activate to do is set up events, maybe like a small fundraiser where we show Greater Good. I'm sure we could get it. I'm in contact with Leslie Manukian a lot, so I'm sure we can get free copies. And I can probably, put forth the money. Nonprofit, usually they have discounts at community centers and libraries. Nonprofit status, get us the discount, and I would pay for the venue rental, and people would just run with it, and they would get volunteers. They would probably, get local people, doctors to speak after maybe and answer questions. I could make it if it's, if the timing works out, and just organizing those kind of events. So
On to the specific, how do we figure out